Alright, hello everybody and welcome to Primordialis. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. The plan is to teach you all how to make drones. I've been getting this request quite a lot recently. I figured this would be a useful little guide for people. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. First off, I want to point out that there is a handful of cells that make creating a drone significantly easier. And yeah, I'm going to organize these really quick and show you which ones tend to be the best in my opinion. So just give me a moment here and I'll have them all set up in the top left-hand corner here. Alright, so I've got most of the cells here organized into what I believe to be the most useful cells for creating a drone. All the stuff on the left here is stuff that I find pretty important. Detach detector is quite nice, but can also be replaced with power switch. And yeah, those tend to be the two primary power-ups. Always on has some issues with it, so we'll talk about that a little bit. But one really great way to actually learn how to create things is by spawning in creatures and then possessing them. So this creature, for example, is a very excellent starting summoner. So let's go ahead and take a look at this really simplistic build. So this is the main body of the summoner. The main body of the summoner, if I detach, you'll see this part starts flashing. And the reason behind that is because this part is worth more biomass than this part, which means this is the primary part of the body. So when the detach happens, you will be this part of the body. So that's always an important part of making a drone. Make sure your drone is cheaper than your base body. And the cheaper you can make a drone, the faster you can regenerate the drone as well. This drone actually has many, many weaknesses. And what we're going to do is I'm going to transform it into a stronger version using techniques that I've learned. So we've got drag reduction and quite a few seekers on this drone, which is going to give it immense control. These seekers can be used while I have my drone attached, which means that I can use it for control, but then I have to basically manually move. And note that the biomass of this drone is also quite low, which allows it to transfer the biomass from the main body into it pretty quickly, allowing it to regenerate at a pretty quick rate, which is really good. So this is a really simple setup. You can see we've got no activators on this side. We've got a ability trigger cell, which will produce an electrical charge when I press spacebar, which will permanently charge my power switch cell, which will then give my angry cell the ability to basically control and go after enemies. So pretty simple setup. This is just going to run down enemies and run into them with spikes. Very good. It's got the speed to make it happen. And I can just play keep away. If you've played any Primordialis at all at this point, you know this enemy is pretty dangerous in the early game. So yeah, it's a decent build. The biggest issues with it, in my personal opinion, are that its regeneration zone is pretty bad, and the base body loses control when or it doesn't lose control, but it becomes much harder to control because you don't get to use the seekers when you've got it detached. So those are the two main things. Also, this setup is very susceptible to its own drone. I'm sure if you've played this game enough, you've experienced a scenario where you've managed to get their own drone to ram into the main body. And that's where one of these other potential things would come into play, another brain type. So, for example, if you were to set up like one of these, you could do like an anti. You could do a negating follower, something like that, and that'll make it so it always stays away from you, and now it'll never ever go after me. And you can see that while it's attached to me, it still doesn't really do anything because it's a part of my body. But this is a good way to make it so it'll never get in that range where it'll kill me. So this can be a really helpful tool for just dealing with super dangerous drones. So that's nice. That's going to be the first little upgrade that I'll make. The next thing that I want to do is I want to make sure this thing regenerates at a really fast rate. And there's a couple of fairly efficient ways of doing that. But what I'm going to do is, the most important thing is to have your drone inlaid in your body, and that allows it to basically have more surface area to regenerate faster. So if I take this and move it into my body like this, obviously we've sacrificed a ton of biomass, but I'm going to go ahead and regrow that. So let's, let me turn on this, because there's no reason not to have that on. And, yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit above 400, because, obviously, you're not gonna be playing at 400 biomass for very long. That's a very early game scenario, I would say. So, we'll do a little something like this. So, there we go, and now we are going to apply some breakaways. And, the objective with the breakaways is to make sure that these are the lifeblood of your summoning build. If you are not using breakaways, you're doing something wrong. Because the other option is, like, using explosions to detach a piece of your body, or, like, a self-touch and, like, spike and you chop a piece of yourself off. Those are unhinged strategies. They could be done. You might even be able to, like, superpower a jet and rip your body in half. These are all very experimental methods that I personally don't recommend when we've got something that is literally designed to do this, and this is one of the very best spells in the entire game, because it's got such incredible versatility, and it's incredibly cheap. So yeah, just use breakaway cells. It'll make your life much easier. So there's a couple different ways that we can do this. The more expensive and less elegant way of doing it is by just having these guys placed periodically, so that way we can have the activation. And then when I hit spacebar, you can see that it detaches. And you can see that it's regenerating significantly faster than the other version of the build. And the reason behind that is because we've got more surface area where it's going to be able to quickly regenerate. And I can increase that speed even more by having something like a vascular line going on like this. You could also just do hearts and have the hearts near the area where you're detaching as well. The important part is to have a quick way of having it all regenerate. So like now it's even faster, and you know we can start to really spam with this, and it's quite good. Now, one thing you might want to do, like this drone in its current state is really, really squishy. It's not going to be able to tank very much. So you might want to throw a heart on. But there are some scenarios where having a heart on is not necessarily a good thing. You know, it's just not very recommended in public for the most part. But sorry. Anyway, so there's good alternatives to hearts if you want a drone that has like a little bit of health. For example, if you're doing like an explosive build, you might want a build that is intentionally going to take enough biomass damage where the explosive goes off and you don't have to worry about it too much. So one good way of doing that is using some of the cells that have a reduced, or like they have a slightly increased biomass over the basic cells, which all have one. Like pretty much everything has one unless it's combined with another cell. But health infusion and vascular cells both have slightly more biomass storage. You can see there it's got 10 biomass and this has 5 biomass, while the heart has 100 biomass. So the heart can be really overkill on a build where you kind of want your drone to die, so keep that in mind. And you can just like put a health infusing cell at like your core and have that be really helpful. And same thing goes for the vascular cell. You can just have this in like a tactical place to have it be like a little bit tankier. So those are both like really handy little ways of building out your guy. And here we'll spawn in some creatures and see how well these guys hunt down at this point. So we'll do a couple of these. There we go. And let me change teams. So I'll go to the nun team. I don't know what that does, but we'll find out together. And hopefully these guys start attacking me, because I'm fairly confident in this build. One thing that I would like to do differently on this build is its mobility kind of sucks still. I'd probably reduce the seeker count and move my seekers up here. The other option is to build some seekers up here and have like some seeker wings where it kind of helps with my mobility still. And obviously we're getting like far beyond what this normally costs, and you see how those are pushing like into my spikes. I got to be really careful of my own drones still, so we want to make sure that we play around that. And let's go ahead and start murdering guys. So we're now not on a team, and everybody is after me. Let me see if I can... Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Little bit of craziness there. So you can see that while I don't have HP, when I try to summon a drone, it doesn't work, because the drone doesn't fully regenerate. And that's a really important thing to keep in mind when you're making a drone. A drone build, is that you kind of need that time for the drone to be able to start functioning properly. And you might be tempted to take something like a manual regeneration or a permanent regeneration perk, and you'll find that it'll slow down your drone protection quite a lot. But it can also make it so you can always create a drone. So you see how these guys are dying really easily, and it's like not close. If I put like 1 heart on here, these guys should start to win their fights a lot more consistently. And the more HP that I put onto these guys, the easier they're going to have a win. But the slower my regeneration is going to get. So you can see that they're actually like starting to survive. And one thing to note is that we're going spike versus spike. So if I want to like beat their spikes, I can just do double long spikes. And now my guys should have a much easier time handling them. And what I can do is I can actually replace these spikes with like hard cells, and I could put those in tactical locations. And it'll slow down my build a little bit. And it'll make it like much tankier though, so... That would be good. And then another thing I can do, like I can just keep iterating on the design, right? Like it's very doable to just keep making more changes. So I can add on some jets, so that way now it's a little faster again. And yeah, look at that, my drones won. And the thing is like I was never really in danger other than the time where I bumped into them. And if you want to like play around that, you can add like a couple spikes to your own build just to like have defense, or you can do like a hard cell outer layer. There's lots of good options. So yeah, this is kind of the evolution of how you do a drone build. Now, if you want to do, there's many different ways of doing a drone. This is just like the super basic starting drone. So we'll go ahead and put this guy in our stash for later, just in case we want to come back to him, because he's pretty good. I'm happy with it. I like it. So next up, we're going to spawn in this guy. And let me go ahead and possess this lad. Oh my god. What is... Okay, I possessed the wrong thing. That makes sense. Let me just start exploding everything. Just no survivors. Okay, good. Then we will spawn this guy, and then we will possess this guy. Boom, there we go. So this is the other build that I want to show off. This build is already using some of the strategies that I've talked about. Now this is basically a rocket-propelled grenade, or like a you know, just a rocket launcher of whatever sort. And it's a really simple build. So this is actually a dumb drone. It doesn't have any brain in it, which means that you have to manually aim it. And this can be the sort of thing that works if you're really patient, or if you make something extremely destructive and you just want to say everything in that direction dies. It's okay. It's not bad, but you can see that it's like inlaid, and you know, personally I would do this and add in like some extra ways of having this bust off like that. And, you know, now it's going to regen even faster than it was. And he's only got 4 hearts, which is just, like, unhinged. So, you know, we can do this and add in, like, some extra hearts. And this is going to make it a way better build, where it's going to be able to shoot way faster. And you can see, like, it's all of a sudden you know, like 100 times better than it was, and all I had to do was make like a couple little changes. And, you know, if I wanted it to be angry, so that way it could, like, target enemies, we can do that. And, you know, let's make sure that we're on a team, so we can start shooting stuff. So, we'll be on green team. Now this guy's after me, but that's okay. We can just blow him up. And, yeah, it becomes, like, a lot more... Is it not gonna aim on this guy? Maybe because this is one of my previous creatures, it's not gonna aim at him. We'll just spawn in some dudes to shoot at. What team are they on? You know what, I'll just swap teams and hope it works. Yeah, they're on green team, so we'll go to yellow team. There we go. Oh! Yeah, so I messed up the angry cell placement. So, basically, this is the power switch cell that's staying on, and this just flashes for a second, which means that it's not actually turned on. One thing that you might encounter is it's really hard to find the cells you want sometimes. So, like, I could replace this with, like, a detached detector here, for example. And, I can just move the angry cell down here. And then these detached detectors, when I press spacebar, these will all detach, and then it will be able to aim. You can see now it's actually aiming. And yeah, obviously you probably don't even need two for a build like this, but you can see that, like, you know, we just converted this build from being, you know, a dumb rocket launcher to a smart rocket launcher. And it's a lot better. So yeah, Angry Cell is the core of pretty much everything in a drone build. It is kind of the holy grail. I would highly recommend hunting it down if you're planning on doing a drone build. You can do landmine builds without it, and those can be semi-functional depending on what you're using. If you're doing like a heat feedback loop, you could very easily do something like that. If you want to see a good example of a heat feedback loop, I did a negative heat feedback loop in a recent video. It's something like the radiance. You'll see it. So definitely go look at that and see how the pill design works. Maybe I'll show that off. We'll see. But yeah, this build is now a lot more functional. Obviously, this is a little bit outdated. So one thing you could do is you could have the explosives on the exterior, and just because these feeler cells are adjacent, they'll still explode. One last thing that's a problem with this build is if I ram into something, it will explode and do a lot of damage. So be really careful if you've got an explosive build where you've got the explosives semi-inlaid, right? Like that's going to be a dangerous thing. It's going to make your build take a lot of damage. So you got to be really careful with that, for one. But there's actually an enemy in the game that has a really cool solve for this as well. So we'll go ahead and spawn them in and take them over. And this is like one of the easiest, best ways to learn. If you want to learn a concept, if you see something that you think looks cool, the devs have probably thought of it. There's some really, really impressive and cool enemies in here that can give you like a baseline knowledge to really grow as a player, I think. So, you know, feel free to experiment. I don't want to just tell you how to do things. I want you to go and experience and learn and see how to do it yourself, because this game is really special because of the learning process that you get to go through. Now, I'm just hunting for a very particular creature, and I'm having a little bit of trouble finding it. It's a Zone 2 creature. This guy right here. Here we go. So, let's go ahead and possess this lad. There we go. He's just gonna go murder all those guys. And let's go ahead and take a look at this crazy guy. So, you might have seen my dissection video earlier. But, we've got a very weird system here. Basically, these negative always-on cells are making it so this explosive payload will not go off when this sensor activates. So this sensor, when it touches a thing, it puts a positive charge through these conductors and then makes these explode. So right now there's 2 positive, or 2 negative and 1 positive. So if I brush up against a wall with this, they will not explode, which is great. That means that this is, like, very safe and isn't going to cause that regeneration issue, which is really important to deal with if you're a summoner. You want to not take damage as a summoner. So when you detach here, you'll see that we've got a detach, and that will give us the basically a neutral charge. And when these two hit a thing, it'll make it so they explode. So you can see now they're actually exploding. So using a technique like this is probably over-engineered. You could probably do this in less. But it's a good concept. Like, if you want to have a way to make explosives safer, you can do that. This thing has, like, some wacky staging stuff going on, too. It's pretty cool. But, you know, your drones don't need to be this crazy. Like, this thing is definitely weaker than it could be with a much simpler setup. So I wouldn't worry too much about making something like this. And, yeah, I mean, what else can I show? I guess I can show, like, a super minimalist build. So let's run it back to this guy. Like so. There we go. So, I mean, this guy's already pretty minimalist. You don't really, like, nothing too crazy. You can get this in the first zone very, very easily. With like, a little bit of luck. But, one of the other potential builds is, understanding, like, what the basic, most tiny thing you can make is, and count it as a drone. So, what I would do for like a super simple drone is I need a power source, I need angry cell, so that way it goes after something, and, you know, I want to give it, like, some sort of offense, so that way it does something. So I'll give it, like, a laser. And, we'll go ahead and put it like this, so that way this powers both of these. And, it doesn't need seekers, it'll control on its own, but we'll see how it goes with just this. So if and then the beauty of having, like, a tiny drone like this is that you can have a lot of them. You don't just need one. You can have a ton. So that's really cool. And one thing that we can do is we can heat insulate this with some conductives, and now it'll actually be safe and not, like, explode itself. So what we can do is give this, like, a staging setup like this, and then we'll have so these are conductive, so that's already set, and then we'll do, like, some power switches around it, or we can do, oh, not those, we'll do some of these, and then I'll have, like, a line of these, and then we can do one of these. So one thing you can do when you do really tiny drones is you can have a whole bunch of them, and it allows you to do some really silly stuff. And it's really particularly good with heat-based builds, in my personal opinion. Pardon me for a moment. So with heat-based builds, you get some really, really crazy results, potentially. So, once again, we're gonna line these guys with this. And this is going to allow us to have kind of like a nervous system. Once again, you could do this with a couple hearts and it would work fine. Like, you don't have to do anything too crazy. But, you know, it is very, very good to have a setup where you can utilize stuff like this. It's nice. So we've got, like, heat that we're using. So one thing that I tend to do when I create a drone is I want to make sure that I am resilient to the damage type that I am using, because you know, crazy stuff happens in this game, and having the ability to tank your own device is important, in my opinion. So from this point, like, we can just use basic cells. Basic cells are really good because they're cheap. But yeah, on a build like this, I like to have my Seekers toward the back. And even if you want to put Seekers on your drone, for example, you know, if I put, like, 2 Seekers here, for example, they're going to... these Seekers are not going to influence the way it moves at all. But yeah, you can see these guys are going to, like, run up and laser the heck out of the enemy. Now, the problem with this is obviously it's lacking HP, and they're getting in each other's ways. So there's a couple solutions for this, but one of the very best things you can do with a setup like this is you can slow it down by adding something that makes it significantly slower, and then you can see that they're going to take a lot longer to like, the wider we get with this, the better it's gonna get. And, yeah, obviously you could do, like, a heat feedback loop and all that sort of thing with this, and shit gets real crazy. The most important thing, if you do a heat feedback loop... By the way, if you want a video on heat feedback loops, let me know. I'm just gonna assume that you know based off of my videos for now. If you do a heat feedback loop, and you've got a drone set up, they can and will kill you if you're not careful. So what you can do is you can just hold down the button that launches your drones, and then you're set. And yeah, that way you can start to regenerate it, and you won't have heat feedback loop in your body. That is a really important thing to keep note of and be aware of. Final thing that I can recommend is that there are alternative ways of setting your drones free. We've been using ability trigger. You could technically use feeler cells. You could, like, ram into an enemy and have it be like an injector where once you hit that feeler cell, you've got, like, a conductive line and it activates your drone. That could be a pretty cool and functional thing. You could consider using various cells in combination with breakaway to have unique effects. That can be pretty good. And the final one is the seek trigger. So you might want something where you have access to jets so you can move fast. So you could have your jets attached to your seek trigger or your ability trigger, and you can make it so you've got a left click where you can move around quickly, and you've got drones that you can activate separately. And you know, that can be a very valuable system. So yeah, I think that's everything that I need to talk about on how to get you started on drones. I hope I didn't really miss anything. I think I got pretty much everything. And yeah, hopefully this is helpful for some folks. It's just something that I've been seeing in the comments, a lot of people asking to see how to make a drone. And yeah, please feel free to ask away in the comments. I'm always, I read every comment, even if I don't heart your comment, I read all of them. At least I try my very best to for now. Things have been growing, and I want to thank everybody for that. Things have been going crazy. And, yeah, I really appreciate it. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'm trying to hit 20,000 before the end of the year for just arbitrarily. I don't know why. It'll just make my brain happy. But, yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll catch you all with more gaming, more Primordialis soon. Keep an eye on the channel. I am a variety gamer. I play a whole bunch of stuff. Been doing a lot of Night Rain lately. That game's fun. And, yeah, big thank you to the supporters as well. Okay, bye. Bye.